We have a new moon coming up on June 6th, and that means we're in the waning lunar phases. Do you know what lunar phase you were born under and what that means? That's what Stephen Forrest's Book of the Moon is all about, and now it's on audiobook narrated by, well, me. You can pick it up at Audible without a subscription and Apple Books. Welcome in to the hump day already. June 5th, Fun Astrology Podcast. Thomas Miller, thanks so much for joining us. Glad you're here. We're going to take a look at that aspect that we talked about yesterday that actually occurs on Saturday. But before we get there, today we have a lunar sign change. The moon jumps into Gemini today at 4:35. That's a.m. Eastern Time. That sets up tomorrow's new moon, which happens early. So we might as well mention it today because we are in the baking energy, moving toward it today. That's at 8:37 in the morning, early, 8:37 Eastern now. That's the new moon, the creating new moon. A very positive, powerful new moon loaded with all kinds of good energy. We'll save that analysis for tomorrow, but just to say, if you have a new moon process, if you like to create, if you like to stir things up in the cauldron of creativity during the new moon, well, this is a one to do it for sure. I would drag it out. I would do it today and tomorrow, just knowing that there's some really cool stuff up over our heads. Now, lest we get too optimistic, remember the overriding theme that we set up last week actually was go, but whoa. Well, we are approaching another whoa here that will happen on Saturday. In fact, tomorrow after that new moon is kind of a pivot point of the whole week. That's because on Saturday, Venus squares Saturn. That happens early Saturday morning. And then also pretty early Sunday morning, the sun does the same thing. It squares Saturn. Now, if you know quite a bit about astrology, your ears are pointed. If you don't, the square aspect itself should just trigger at least a challenge, right? You could think of it as, oh, there's some tension in the space then. And yes, because it involves Venus and the sun, which remember, that was our big aspect from yesterday, that conjunction of Venus and the sun in Gemini. Now both have moved into position where they are square, conflicting with Saturn. So that was even embedded yesterday. So those same characteristics we talked about. You, the life force, the sun, that's your essence. Venus, that area that gives you grounding, because obviously Libra and Taurus both are grounded kinds of signs. They don't like a lot of drama. Well, I mean, anybody can create drama. You say, I know a Libra and that's crazy drama. I did too. I worked with a guy for a long time who stirred it up, and he was very much a Libra, an October 1st birthday. But point is, if the preference were there, the drama would just be balanced, right? That's Libra, and it would be grounded if you were Taurus. So Venus covers everything we love, our relationships, everything that's beautiful. Boy, the flowers out here right now are just spectacular. Whoa! Anything that brightens up our life, that's Venus. So both the sun, the essence of us, and everything we love is dum, dum, da-dum, dum, coming into this here he comes, right? He's got his saber down, and because it's a square, we can think there might be some challenges around old Lord Karma. Now, this isn't today. This is the weekend. Remember, today is Kristen's luckiest day of the whole month, basically. If you take a look at the Lucky Stars Club, if you get in there and get the video and take a look at that, you'll know. Today is the one that is big time circled. She shows you why, and you can join that club. Just go right to the top of the funastrology.com website, and it helps support the podcast, too, so we appreciate that. But this dum is coming up on Saturday and Sunday. I think because it involves these two planets that just had this really strong union. I mean, remember, planets activate more when they conjoin like this, that we are talking about some really strong energy for the rest of this week. And we do have tomorrow's new moon in the middle of that. So what we're talking about, let's go high timeline side on this. I think one thing Saturn is doing right now, and I'm experiencing it myself, is it's making you work for it. Yes, there's kind of a candy store in the sky right now in Gemini, but on the other side of the big bundle, the bracket, if you will, the other side of the parentheses is Saturn, keeping it real, keeping it realistic. But this is where Saturn can produce tremendous things. I looked at a chart the other day. I have no idea why this came to mind, but I took a look at some facts around this person's life, and it was like, whoa. I'm talking about Larry King. You remember the host on CNN and also had the Liberty radio show. He became popular doing that. Well, when his overnight radio show launched in 1978, that really launched his big-time career, and he has an amazing chart for success, for one. But on that day, literally, the sun transiting over the sky, the sun overhead, was right on his natal Saturn, in the first house. And see, this is why I have no room for just interpreting one side of an aspect, because yes, some people would come along and they would say, oh, Vidius Valens said back in 1632 that was a sign that you would be crushed like a bug, if you shouldn't even get out of bed. Well, it's a good thing Larry King got out of bed, because that launched a long-standing career that he was still practicing when he went into the hospital with COVID in 2021 and died. And Saturn was the ruler of his chart because he was a Capricorn rising. So, see, here comes the sun, hits his Saturn, and a brilliant broadcasting career is launched from that. And, oh, by the way, where was the other quote-unquote great malefic Pluto? It was right at the top of his chart, right inside the 10th house. And I thought, well, that's kind of like where we are today, because we have this great stack of energy in Gemini, and yet we're building toward this square with Saturn. Now, it wasn't an easy journey for Larry King, and there certainly were bumps and bruises along the way, as there always are. But he was destined for the success that he had. And this is the kind of creating ability that we have coming up tomorrow with this new moon that we should be practicing today. And just like for Larry King, starting that program on that kind of transit, you can just think that if you want something big in your life that you want to create, know that there will be hurdles, and know that it's not just going to come on a platter in a drive-through window ready for you tomorrow morning. You're going to have to work for it. There are going to be setbacks. You're going to have a plan in action, be guided and directed by synchronicities, focusing on your goal and keeping your thoughts on exactly what you want and not on the noise around you. And of course, those are always good things to do in our manifesting practice. So I hope this helps. Big, powerful new moon. Stay in that today. And then just realize that the hurdles that are ahead of us, starting Saturday and Sunday, or culminating Saturday and Sunday at least, are there for our good, to stretch us into longevity if we so choose. Stay with it. Stay with the goal. I love you guys. I'll see you back tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.